on Zoom, and we have one person in our Hondo. Jeannie Ryan is here, so welcome, Jeannie. I guess most of you stayed home because of the weather, maybe. So thank you all for joining us for our regular, or no, actually not regular, sorry. It is our Bodhi Day service. And the Bodhi Day service is, of course, the service in which we commemorate the enlightenment of the historical Buddha Shakyamuni. And I'll talk more about this Dharma message as well. But we'll begin this Bodhi Day service with a moment of silent meditation, followed by the recitation of the name of the Buddha or the Onenbutsu. Oh, what's going on here? Every time I move, I think I'm hitting my mic. Sorry about that. It might be probably making a sound on your end. Please join me in Gasho. Naman Nobs, Naman Nobs, Naman Nobs, Naman Nobs, Naman. Next, we're going to have the recitation of the Bandhana Tisarana. And I'm just going to make this up. And you should bring it up on the screen just now. There. So you'll see it on your screen there. And we'll be reciting the Bandhana Tisarana together. Okay. Naman Nobs, Naman Nobs, Naman Nobs. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. Dhamma saranam gacchami. I go to the Dharma for guidance. Sangham saranam gacchami. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Naman Nobs, Naman Nobs, Naman Nobs. Next, we will be reading our pledge together, and it's on your screen now. So please join me as we read our pledge. Our pledge. Breaking out of my shell, I shall carefully share and speak gentle words, just like the kind Buddha. Not becoming lost in my greed, anger, and ignorance, I shall be open-minded, just not putting myself first, I shall others, just like the realizing the gift of life we have received, I shall live each day to like the Buddha who next, we will have the sutra. We will be chanting out Genie, it's on page 89, and then followed by page 73, Sambasket in the purple seitan. For those that we'll start off with the Sambujo, followed by the chanting of the Sambasket. Naman nobs, naman nobs, naman nobs, naman nobs, naman nobs. Naman nobs. This morning, we have gathered here in the quietude of Amida's temple to commemorate the Bodhi Day, the day in which it is said that Siddhartha Gautama, under the Bodhi tree, attained enlightenment. The day is generally recognized to have occurred on December 8th. We faithfully recite the Nembutsu and humbly join our hands in Gassho. May the fragrance of incense teach us the purity of our intentions, and may the beauty of the flowers offered remind us of the glory of the Dharma. May the lights that burn brightly upon the altar lead our thoughts to Amida's eternal light of wisdom and boundless compassion that dispels the darkness of our ignorance. Namo. ja Shobut Segai Bugage Mushu Setsudo Komyo Shisho Tenshi Shokok Nyose Shoji Ijin Nanyo Yoga Sabut Kogudo Daich Goshigimyo No Jozet Kogunyo Nayo Nimudoso Gano Aimi Dodazu Isai Jimorai Sho Jinezu Shoujo Ido Gagok Keraku Anno Obuzu Shimyo Zega Shinsho Otsuga no Hi Riki Shoujo Jimo Seson Chiemuge Joryo Shison Shiga Shingyo Keryo Shishi Shoku Dokuju Gagyo Shoji Ninju Ge Nama 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 Gani Shiga Dogu Myodo Seisai Do Hodu Monaishi Ojo Namanavs, namanavs, namanavs. Actually, I'm going to pull up the English translation and ask you to join me in reading that and just So Jeannie, if you could read also the screen, because the translation is a little different on in the text. Okay, so let me just pull it up. There it is. Oop. Way too small. Okay. So, here we go. Okay, so we'll read the translation of the Sambasket, Praises of the Buddha. Your face shines in great splendor, boundless wondrous dignity, such the greatness of your light beyond all comparison. Brightness of the sun and moon and the shining money jewels, when compared to your brilliance, seem to us like blackest ink. Tathagata's countenance transcends all comparison. The great voice of awakening resounds through the 10 quarters. Your precepts, learning, effort, meditation, wisdom are virtues beyond all compare, ultimate, supreme, and rare. Your deep meditation has fathomed all the Dharma sea, to the limits and the depths of all things the Buddhas teach. Ignorance, anger, and greed, the world-honored one has none. Like a lion among men, measureless your great virtues. Vast are your great virtuous deeds, your deep wisdom is profound. Your radiant luminous light shakes all the world's foundations. When I become a Buddha, equal to the Dharma King, I will transcend birth and death, liberating all beings. My giving, discipline, precepts, patience and effort, meditation and wisdom shall be supreme, unsurpassed. When I attain Buddhahood, everywhere fulfill my vow, bringing peace and tranquility to all beings in doubt and fear. Though there are myriad Buddhas beyond measure, beyond count, and great sages numberless, like the grains of Ganges sands, I will honor each of them, equally accepting none. Even more importantly, I will seek the supreme way. Even though all Buddha worlds are countless as Ganges sands, even though all lands and realms are boundless without measure, yet my light shall reach them all and illumine every place. Such shall be my perfect work, such my power infinite. When I attain Buddhahood, my land will be first and best, place of practice, transcendent, its people sublime and rare. My land is like nirvana, beyond all comparison. In my sincere compassion, I will enlighten all beings. All who come from 10 quarters to be born into my land will be pure, filled with gladness, peace, and great tranquility. O Buddhas of the 10 quarters, this my true revelation. In this way, I've made my vows, and I will strive to fulfill them. Buddhas of the 10 quarters, with your wisdom unimpeded, may I always call on you to reveal my intentions. Though my body undergoes so much pain and suffering, I will persevere and strive patiently without regret. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Okay. Now I'm just gonna this and new spotlight. Okay. And yeah. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Let me see now. Oh, there you go. Can you all hear me okay still? Yes? Okay, good. I'm sorry to keep on asking you this, but with the new audio video equipment, it's going to take just a little while to get used to. So first of all, thank you again for joining us for our Bodhi Day service. It is, of course, a service in which we commemorate the enlightenment of the historical Buddha. And I have actually spoken about Bodhi Day before many times. In particular, reminiscing over my own family situation. And yesterday we had our kids Sangha here, kids Sangha service. And we actually had, for the first time in about a year and a half, we had our first in-person kids Sangha. And it was very nice because we had 11 kids from the kids Sangha, plus there were the parents. So we had close to 30 people here yesterday. So we had the service, and then following the service, we had the Bodhi Day party, and they all had bento here. But also, as part of the Kids Sangha, the national organization, the Living Dharma Center, usually holds Dharma school for children on the 4th Saturday of every month. But because the 4th Sunday this year would have turned out to be the 26th, is it? Something, or I think somewhere around there. Anyways, right around Christmas time. So they decided to join our service yesterday. So we had a number of people on Zoom as well as the kids that were here. So it was quite a lively, eventful event. And after we had the service portion here, as our kids went off into the classroom to do their crafts, my sister Madi, I think she's on the Zoom call today, she led the other Dharma School kids in doing a craft from their homes. And what they did, of course, they made, they called it the Bodhi Tree Star. And so the whole story behind this, it was said that the historical Buddha, so Siddhartha Gautama, left the royal palace at the age of 29. And he spent 6 years doing what we call ascetic practices. Well, he went in search of the truth. So he left the royal palace, and at first he went and he sought out different yogis and great masters of that time. But despite going to see many different teachers, he wasn't quite satisfied completely with their answers. So in the end, Siddhartha ends up practicing for 6 years what we call ascetic practices. And his father, King Suddhodana, being worried about his son, he sends actually 5 of the top young men from the Shaka clan to sort of be by his side. So they also become what we call mendicants. And so the 5 mendicants together with Siddhartha try very difficult practices. It was believed at the time that you can rid the impurities of the body to get the purity of the mind. But despite the fact that Siddhartha endured this practice for 6 years, he couldn't liberate himself completely. And so it was after the 6-year period, Siddhartha realized that this was not the way to enlightenment. And so he gives up this practice, a very difficult practice and of asceticism, and he actually sits under what we call the Bodhi tree. And he sits there for 49 days, contemplating, meditating, and he makes a vow that he will not move until he has attained enlightenment. And it is said on the morn of the 49th day, under the morning star, the Buddha attained enlightenment. So my sister Muddy led the Dharma School children in making what they called the Bodhi Day Star, or the morning star. So, you know, when I was growing up, as I mentioned earlier, and I've mentioned this before in my talks, we used to always have, well, it was a Christmas tree in our house, but my father always used to put the sign up saying on December 8th, Shakyamuni Buddha attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, and therefore this is a Bodhi tree and not a Christmas tree. And you know, he will always put that sign up every year. He'll put it in our tree, and at the top of our tree we would normally have like the statue of the Buddha up there. And in fact, if you want to get really technical about things, I would say that because the Buddha attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, Buddhism actually has more in context with tree than Christianity does with a tree, because there's really nothing about Christmas tree with the birth of Christ, right? So if you want to get really technical, I would say almost that Buddhism actually has more of a claim with tree to enlightenment of the Buddha. But anyways, in his enlightenment or attaining of enlightenment, there is a description, quite an in-depth description of what the historical Buddha endured. So while he was meditating, the individual or there's I guess a deity by the name of Mara. And Mara, sometimes people refer him as to the king of the underworld, but that's not true. Mara was actually the ruler of samsara, existence of suffering. Okay, and samsara in the Buddhist understanding, there are 6 realms of existence within samsara. Okay, of course, one could easily recognize hell as a realm of suffering, and then right above hell, there's a realm of what we call the hungry ghost. They're very similar to hell. And then above that, there's the realm of the beasts. And the beasts live only by instinct. They don't have conscience. And above the beasts, we have what we call Ashura, or the fighting spirits. And above that is what we call our realm, the human realm. And above that, we have the heavenly realm. And there's actually 6 different heavenly realms. But even these heavenly realms were considered within this scope of samsara, of suffering. So I loosely translated it as a pseudo heavenly realm. It's heavenly in the sense of materialistically, they have all the needs or the wants that they have everything that they want. But in the end, even those in the heavenly realm end up in a very lonely place and suffer when they have to pass on. So what the Siddhartha, or what Shakyamuni Buddha was trying to do was break free from this existence of samsara or suffering. And it said there was a great battle that ensued between Shakyamuni and Mara. And of course, Mara, who oversaw this whole 6 realms of samsara, didn't want Shakyamuni to break free because he wanted everybody still under the control of his suffering. And so the first thing Mara does is that he sends his daughters, Mara's daughters, and they're dressed up beautifully, maybe like Hollywood starlets, to entice the Buddha. But the Buddha looks at them and he says, although you may be beautiful today, in due time, your bodies will wither and you will grow old and demise. And sure enough, right before his eyes, the daughters turn into these old hags and they disappear. And so then Mara then gets upset, and it's said that he sends forth his minions, and they shoot arrows and try to create fear within the Buddha. But all the arrows that they shoot end up turning into flower petals and come floating gently around the Buddha. So Mara can't instill fear in the Buddha. And finally, Mara then takes a different strategy. He calms down and he actually becomes a splitting image of the Buddha. And he starts sweet talking the Buddha, saying, why? Why are you going through all this difficult struggle? Why not just enjoy the moment? And in fact, if you're willing to give in, I could easily make you a celestial being, and you will have all the things that you ever wish for. And of course, the Buddha does not move. The Buddha looks at Mara and says, I see through you, and I shall never return to this house, this burning house. And it said on the morn of the 49th day, under the morning star, the Buddha attains perfect enlightenment and attains the peace that he is seeking. So when we look at this struggle, you can actually, and this is something that I in thinking about it, I came to realize quite recently, actually, that you can break down the struggles that Mara is trying to create for the Buddha into three simple categories. And we've talked about this before too. And these are what we call the three poisons, right? So in the three poisons, and you've heard it in different ways, greed, anger, and sometimes called stupidity. So we talk about gas, remember? Or greed, anger, and ignorance is the more traditional way of explaining it. But when he sent his daughters, okay, that was greed. He was trying to provoke lust within the Buddha, greed, right? Sexual lust. And of course, that didn't work for him. And then when he tried to scare the Buddha with his minions, that was trying to incite anger in the Buddha. And of course, that also did not work. And finally, when Mara tried to deceive him and tell him that he can become a celestial being, that is ignorance. See, to be satisfied with something that is still within our realm of suffering, the Buddha realized is not the true answer. And so the Buddha persevered and went beyond these three, what we call poisons. And so in our Buddhist tradition, we too, as we listen to this, as we honor this day, Bodhi Day, we celebrate the fact that the Buddha went beyond these three poisons. And it is because of this enlightenment that the Buddha was able to then spread the teachings for all of us to listen to. And he also showed a way for those beings like myself who are trying their hardest to follow these teachings, and yet at times run into our own ignorance. And this path was, of course, the Nembutsu path, or the path of Amida Buddha. And what we understand is through the working of the Dharma, through the working of Amida Buddha, even such beings as myself, we are held within the grasp of the compassion of the Buddha. And out of gratitude, it is that we put our hands together in Gassho to say, thank you for expressing this or showing this to me. And we thank both the historical Buddha Shakyamuni and, of course, Amida Buddha. So in the life of the Buddha, there are three great events, they call it. And the one is the birth, the second is this enlightenment, and finally, the passing of the Buddha. And in many Japanese traditions, we actually split the three into individual events. So for us, we commemorate the birth of the Buddha in April, the enlightenment in December, and the passing in February. For some of the other South Asian school, the Theravada school of Buddhism, they celebrate the three events together as one, and they call it Vesak. It was said that all these events happen at a certain celestial time during the month of Vesak. So they have what they call the Vesak celebration. So they lump the three together. But again, today we are here to commemorate and to celebrate this most important event, the enlightenment of the Buddha, which showed us the way for us to be able to follow and to remind ourselves also of the three poisons of greed, anger, ignorance. So I thank you all. It's not than the Dharma talk, but that's okay.